Okay, so let's talk about the design, right? So what is design? So design is a process of devising a system to meet certain goals, right? But this is on a surface level. Now let's try to understand one level deep. Yeah, so in design, the work or the activity starts from the customer requirements or the need, yeah, till your deliverable. And what is your deliverable? Your deliverable is going to be a design blueprint, right? Now in the entire product development cycle, one phase is inevitable for the success of the product or the objective, right? And that is design, right? Because during this phase you can come up with multiple iterations, you can come up with multiple ideas, yeah. You convert the customer requirements into technical requirements, and that technical requirements are going to get into an idea or a concept, and you are going to create a concept based on engineering physics or engineering judgments, right, to meet your objective of whatever your requirements are. And then again you're going to get into an iterative mode, right? You're going to change a lot of ideas, or you're going to think through this creative process and come up with a lot of options, and then you have to evaluate these options, and then use the engineering judgment to select this uh, option or the engineering design. And then the important thing is also to clearly communicate the design to the stakeholders. So it could be either visual communication, of course it could also be a verbal communication, but very important thing for the design is a visual representation of the design, because this is the place where the customer or where your stakeholders are able to see the product, yeah, virtually. Say it could be a 2D drawing or it could be a 3D models, right? So the important thing in design is that it's an iterative process, and you use the engineering judgments or engineering physics, and then the output or the deliverable of the design is it could be your 3D models or any other form which can be felt by the, which can be seen or which can be felt by the stakeholders, yeah. What does the design engineers focus on? Yeah, so the design engineers focus on three key parameters or three key points, yeah. One being the cost, yeah. So certainly they focus on uh, arriving at a solution which is cost effective to the customer and cost effective to the organization, right? So this is key. It doesn't make sense if you meet all the requirements of the customer and the customer is not able to afford it, right? So this is very important for a design engineer to particularly focus on the cost standpoint, yeah. And the second is how we are going to manufacture it, yeah. So at the end of the day you may have a very nice design, and if you are able to, if you are not able to replicate that design, or if you are not able to fabricate that design in a physical world, yeah, I think this is a complete mess, right? Because you will not be in a position to transfer your information to the manufacturing, yeah. So you should also think from the manufacturing standpoint, so you should also think about the design for manufacturing, right? So in the design phase we should also think through how we are going to manufacture it, what operations are we going to take, yeah, and which is a cost effective operation, yeah. Certainly I'm going to use conventional machining, for example, or am I going to use some latest technology, some laser cutting or any other 3D printing, so on and so forth. So all these various manufacturing process has its own pros and cons in terms of cost, right? So this is very important. And the third thing is, how are you going to test the component, yeah. Certainly you can make a 3D model, and you can also create a prototype, yeah. through fabrication. And once you create a prototype, how are you going to test? So the design engineers like you has to also focus on how you are going to test the product. Say for example, if you are talking about making any automotive component, if that is your design, say you have come up with um, engine, right, engine design. Now what is the cost of it? Certainly this is something which you have to focus on while you are creating the design. The other thing is how we are going to fabricate it, how we are going to manufacture it, right? And the third point here is how we are going to test the engine. Say for example, what are the requirement for which the engine has to satisfy. So these are the functions. There are certain functions which has to be tested against. And you will also write down what are your testing criteria. So what are your testing boundary conditions, what are your testing criteria. Say for example, you mount the engine on a test bench. Are you going to do testing on the test bench, or are you going to do testing on the vehicle directly in the end application, right? So even here you can think about your cost standpoint. If you feel we don't require certain test on the vehicle, certainly that's going to take a lot of time, because you have to mount the vehicle, integrate it, your engine on the vehicle, and then run the test. Or you can also mount it easily on a test bench, and then you can run the test. So these are some of the criterias which we have to clearly have in mind, while doing the testing. And what are the functions are we testing against? Say for example, in terms of fuel efficiency, that could be one function, or one condition, for that. Or it could be your noise level, for example, or it could be your thermal heat, or the amount of heat coming out of the engine. So there could be various criterias against which we are going to test, and these criterias are coming from the customer requirements. It could either come from a customer requirements, or it could also come from a legal requirements. So when we talk about the legal requirements, for example, there are certain untold requirements which is valid from the legal standpoint. No one is going to come and tell you that you have to consider this particular requirement, while designing a product. There are certain design requirements from the legal standpoint, or from a safety standpoint. It could be also mentioned in various say codes and standards. If you talk about emission requirements, now we are testing our engine for the emission. Today we are in 2020, and we are already talking about the BS6 engines, right? So it's already implemented in India. Now whatever engines are manufactured, right, it has to meet the BS6 compliance in terms of emissions. Okay, so this is certainly untold requirement from which you get. Of course you may get from the customer or not. Of course, if it's an end customer, you may not get it, but if it's a OEM, certainly you may get this as a requirement, right? So the important three things, again to summarize, for the focus of design engineers is: one is cost, another one is the design for manufacturing, how we are going to manufacture. So this thought process has to get into your concept development phase. And the third one is the testing. How are the measurements? How are you going to test and measure, and what are the criteria against which you are going to measure? Okay.